one, the pickleball courts are still an issue for us with getting people. We've reached out to a couple of consultants at this point to try to get some help externally, and we're working that right now. But there's a lot of people that have a lot of work already out, and so trying to schedule somebody to come down has been problematic. But if you go down that list in front of you on your Q3 goals, a lot of these are on your agenda to take action on tonight. So the fees and proposed updates to those fees for everything from sanitation to sewer. We also, you approved at the last meeting, the 3A bid resurfacing. 3B should begin advertising in October. That, if you recall, Glenn Morgan and Barry Mott updated you that after 3A, we will be at 67% or 67 roughly on our PCI ratings, and your goal was 60. So if we award 3B, it will be even greater than that. You have on here as well the NeoGov training. Christina headed that up for that platform September 8th and 13th. We conducted training for department heads at Enterprise State Community College at the multi-purpose room. So that's complete. We've had a meeting with the Industrial Development Board about spec building. We're continuing to pursue that. I think we have somebody working on plans for that facility right now. Speeding and traffic issues, and I think later on at the work session, those will be addressed by Chief Moore and Barry Mott. Business license fixes will be addressed by Leanne Schwartz. And then stormwater and sewage drainage issues that will be addressed by Barry Mott. And then the workforce development funding for ESCC, we've incorporated that into our budget, which is on the agenda tonight. And then the budget for FY23, which is also on the agenda tonight. And sorry, I looked on the back page. The downtown comprehensive plan, Mariah will give you an update on that tonight. Also in your package, you've got kind of a streetscape view on the initial master plan concept and some of the priorities that Mariah's worked for with the Main Street Board to provide you with their priorities. So,
all right. Any questions, comments on anything? While we're talking about our Q3 goals, it's the last item on the list. I'm going to go ahead and pull it forward since we're a few minutes ahead of schedule here. Our Q4 planning and discussion, basically our how we're going to set our goals for the fourth quarter. We need to discuss a plan. What we've done the last two quarters was just meet at 4 o'clock. So basically just pull this meeting that we're in now an hour forward. That's going to be my first suggestion, would be to do that on October 4th, if everyone can do that. Is everybody okay with that? October 4th at 4 o'clock. You good, Sonia? Scotty and Greg, I think I saw y'all nodding your heads. So, Mayor, staff, Jonathan, y'all good with that?
I'm good with it. Any staff members have any objections to October 4th starting the work session at 4 p.m.?
All right. Beverly, just make sure we get that advertised. All right. Mark that off the list. All right. We will. Anything else from a strategic planning or our Q3 or Q4 goals before we move on to our agenda review? All right. Turn in your big packet here. Beverly, any changes to our agenda? So this should be consistent with what was distributed and posted online on Friday. So if y'all stop me if I skip over something that you want to stop and discuss in more detail, but we will approve the agenda. Then our consent agenda, which consists of a couple of minutes meetings, contract billings for our resurfacing phase 2 for poly, and then invoices for design on resurfacing phase 2 and phase 3A. Then we've got our invoice from Ewing Connor Associates for the demolition project. Barry, are we getting going on the demolition project soon? Specifically the CDBG.
The CDBG demo project for the homes you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The first batch has been awarded and going into construction here shortly if they haven't started already. We've got another 13 homes that have been approved to move forward with phases. We want to break those into phase 2 and phase 3. That way we keep them kind of small packages. I know that the consultant we're working with has taken those, split those up, and it's got those approved and working through the asbestos testing portion now. So we'll be going out for bids for phase 2 and 3. Of course, y'all gave permission for us to advertise for bids for all of those. So when we get 2 and 3 prices back, we'll come back to you for you to look at those bids and approve and award the bids for phases 2 and 3. So phase 1, just to recap, should be going into construction now. Phase 2 and 3 should be coming right behind it.
All right. And then that next item's same issue, but it's asbestos surveys for the CDBG grant. All right. Then the mayor is going to give a special presentation and an extra mile award and administer the oath of office for the city prosecutor. Then there's a street request closure. We good there, Chief Moore, on the street request closure? You
possibly not be hiring law enforcement officer down there because of the times, and that's what I'm trying to push them to do. But there's nothing abnormal about the street closure in itself. So.
Okay. So that's just Railroad Street and West College.
Yes. Yes.
Not
Main
touching
Street.
Main Street.
Railroad Street.
So just that
West
little
College.
corner there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then we'll have privilege of the floor and any additional staff reports. Moving into old business, we've got a busy night tonight, passing, or at least considering resolutions, everything that we discussed at length in previous work sessions and introduced last time. So y'all stop me if you want to discuss this. I know we've kind of discussed most of these ad nauseum. So we've got the garbage and sanitation fees, the sanitary sewer fees, the engineering public works fees, of course, all those are being incorporated into the budget. Then we've got the appointment of the building official, the law enforcement reserve officer program, the city school funding, and that was it as far as what was introduced last meeting. Anything to discuss on any of that? Any new concerns or change of heart on that? So then the first item of new business we had pulled off the table last meeting, and we did not introduce that, so it's back on the agenda this meeting. That's Ordinance 092022, which is the Unsafe Building Board of Adjustment and Appeals. The reason we pulled that off, does everybody remember what this is about? All right, so this is the board that's basically going to be the appeals board for when our building official, which is Barry, and our assistant building official, which is Thomas, right? That's the appointments we're making tonight. So when somebody disagrees with their findings, yeah, Barry, why don't you come forward? They can appeal to this board, correct?
Yes, sir. So as the building official, if I deem that a facility or a structure is uninhabitable or should be condemned or anything that I deem as the decision, the owner of the property should have an appeal process, and that appeal process is this board, a 5-panel board. The board's built up 5 people, like I said. One of them is an engineer, has to be an engineer. One of them has to be an architect, and 3 of them have to have general construction knowledge. So that board is just basically so that people can appeal to that and say they would like to be heard outside of the building official, and that board would listen and say, do they side with the building official, or do they side with the owner of the resident?
So the names that have been So when we read this in, the names that'll be introduced are Ron Reeves. He's an engineer, private practice, right?
He is an engineer and has construction experience.
Yep. And Dallas Boyd, same thing.
Same thing. You also have an engineer and construction experience.
Sidney Goocher is a general contractor.
General construction. He is commercial construction.
Clay Wilkes.
Clay is an architect.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And Brad Johnson.
He has general construction experience.
Yep. And as an engineer, right?
He is not an engineer.
Okay.
He's just construction experience.
All right.
All those have I've talked to them, and they're willing to serve in that capacity, and all of them have roots here to Enterprise. So,
all right. Any questions either about the ordinance in general or the suggested appointments? And that is so in the order that I listed, Ron Reeves is a 1 year, Dallas Boyd a 1 year, Sidney Goocher a 2 year, Clay Wilkes a 2 year, Brad Johnson a 3 year. Then I assume they'll go to 3 year terms.
That's correct. That's just to get that started after the first process.
Yeah.
Not saying someone that's on a 1 year wouldn't get reappointed the second term, but they only are serving for the term as you have in front of you.
Then, so the 1 year's next year would be appointed for that slot would be for a 3 year term.
That's correct.
Gotcha. All right. One thing I've just noticed, Rayner and Beverly, what we've been trying to do on our appointments is assign seats 1, seat 2, seat 3, seat 4, seat 5, just for clarity in the future.
Then you would be perfectly accessible to write in seat 1, seat 2, seat 3.
I'll do that. And Beverly, if you want to clean up my handwriting. So that's Ron Reeves, seat 1, Dallas Boyd, seat 2, Sidney Goocher, seat 3, Clay Wilkes, seat 4, and Brad Johnson, seat 5. Anything else on that? We're just going to introduce this tonight, lay it over for consideration at the October 4th. All right. Moving on with new business will be Resolution 092022, which is the operating budget. Beverly, Jonathan, y'all want to? Don't think there's been any changes. I know there hadn't since Friday.
No, there haven't been any changes as was presented to you in the budget meetings that we held last month. The biggest thing that you might see is that we have a lot of capital projects on here that the public may see as well. And to some, it may look like, we're spending more than we're taking in, right?
Right.
And that we've also, last year, we took out a substantial bond issuance, though. So we have those funds in an account ready as we planned to deploy those funds for these projects. So that's what the biggest thing that you might see. And that'll be probably the case next year should the bids come back within the realm of the budget that we had. So
there's no way we're going to finish all these projects next fiscal year.
Correct.
But we go ahead and budget all of it.
We didn't budget all of it. We only budgeted portions of it.
Okay.
So I just wanted you to understand that over the next few years that these capital projects would be, we'd have higher budgets. I mean, this certainly in the last 10 or 20 years, this is probably the highest budget the city's ever had.
Right.
So, but we have a lot of those, all of the capital projects we have funds in the bank now to pay for them. So that's probably the only sticker shock thing that the public or you might notice as you look through that.
Yep.
When you look at the actual budget write-up, you'll see that some of these sources on there. So if you look at the first sheet of the budget where it says sources, this is capital project sources. Down the largest portion of that is coming from our fund balance. So the fund balance is where the funding is held from what we have received in prior years through bond proceeds. So that's being held there, and so that's where that's going to come in. So it's not going to, again, it looks a little strange because we're spending way more than what we're proposing that we're going to generate in revenues, but that's because we're utilizing the fund balance that we already have from prior years.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Any questions on any of that? All right. Thank you all for all your hard work. Seems a little anticlimactic when we get to it and just pass it, but there was a lot of work that went into this, I know. So thank you all. Well done. All right, now we've got the temporary closure of portions of roads, Hickman Road and Dozier Road. It's concerning the VA home, which I think we've got a. All right, that's not what this is. Yeah, we've got it. Where is it? I was just looking at it.
Is that what's on the sketch on the screen?
Must be in the big packet. Got it. Are you going to show it to us on that? It's at the very end. Well, they're about to show it. You can look on one there if you need to. That's why I get it.
So, if you haven't been out to the VA home project lately, you're missing a lot of work. They're doing a whole lot of work. And we contacted the city about doing some temporary closures on portions of Hickman and Dozier Road. And that map displays the areas that they need to be temporarily closed. It's possible temporary closures could expand in the future, but right now, these are roads they need to close, and frankly, we need to close them for safety reasons. City council has the police power to do that. We want to let the public know that most likely in the near future, these portions will probably be proposed for you to be permanently closed. But for right now, for the reasons stated, I think Chief Moore is on board, Barry is on board, and Lynn Morgan is also on board for the request that they be temporarily closed, at least for 90 days. The motion, I believe, is 90 days or longer. Probably will be longer, but we do intend to approach the council soon, probably just next 2 or 3 months, to permanently close those portions of Hickman and Dozier.
So we have the power to temporarily close a road immediately.
That's right.
But the permanent closure, there's a little more legal process.
That's right. The procedure on that is to actually vacate the road. Is the city will announce and do a petition to vacate the road. There has to be notice to anybody that may live on those roads, including the utility companies that may have easements, power easements on those roads. And that's a much more formal process, the one we do expect. We just want to let the public know that we be expecting that as well. And I would recommend that if you do grant the temporary closures of these portions of the road, let Emily do a press release to further let the public know about temporary closure. If you decide to go forward with this, what we would do is we would barricade on both sides of both roads. So we'd have 4 barricades we put up across that, keep traffic around, keep it going down those roads.
Yeah. And Hickman can be accessed from 167 and Dozier from 51.
Here. And this part of Hickman actually comes back out and connects back to 167.
So how much traffic is on these roads? I know that Dozier there can't be much.
There's no house or residence on Dozier. There's one house on Hickman, but it's down here, I think. it's obviously not in the temporary closure area. And actually, Barry, the Hickman, I guess, stops at the city limits, and the county road goes on out to 167. You're correct. When it goes to the county, it turns to the county road number. But
There are residences out there.
it does, and they connect back out to 167.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? Everybody okay with that? All right. Next item on the agenda is to request to hold the Young Eagle Flight Rally at the Enterprise Municipal Airport. This is something, pretty sure we've been doing this every year, right, Barry?
That's correct. We typically do this every year with the EAA chapter. We also require them to have insurance and everything as to protect the city and the airport as well. But we do this every year. We come ask permission to make sure that we have the authority to do so.
I guess my only request is that Rainer review the insurance certificate to make sure we're properly named. Any questions on that? Concerns? All right. That'll be all for the council meeting. Looks like we'll get be the culmination of a lot of prior work tonight. Then we've got back to our, while we're there, after we adjourn the council meeting, the regular council meeting, we will reconvene as the E911 board meeting, which will simply be to approve the minutes of the last meeting and to review and consider the fiscal year 2023 budget, which appears to be the same thing we discussed in our work sessions, right? Yeah. So, but we can discuss that when time comes. But don't forget that we'll have to stay up here. All right. Next item is storm sewer and drainage. Barry.
Yes, sir. So I want to give you a quick update. I've talked to most of you individually, but just to keep everybody informed of what's going on, we were having a good bit of projects that are coming to us that the city needs to be involved in on storm drainage. I quickly added up before the meeting what's on the board right now to get completed. I've got 13 projects that are stormwater related on the board, either in your budget that we went through during the budget hearings or something that Shannon and I are currently working on with Public Works to get corrected. Some of these projects are as simple as failed pipes. Pipes have been in the ground for a long period of time that have deteriorated and need to be replaced. Some of them are that we're tracking with the developers, where developers are letting their stormwater run down the streets and filling up our pipes, and we're working with them to get erosion control in place. Some of them are, and the more difficult ones are, where we're getting calls from property owners where water is running off of someone else's property onto their property, whether that goes through the fence or blowing out around other structures.
I got 3 more to give to you tonight for the same reason.
So we have 16 now. They'll be on my board tomorrow. And the ones that we are really heavily focused on is the ones where we have something that we need to mitigate. We need to fix the problems we've got, but we also need to put a safe place so that we don't have this continuing on for us. So we're looking at plans a lot stronger now. Just to let y'all know, the last 3 sets of plans we've come through, there's notes put on the drawings like each property owner will handle their stormwater directly to the city street, to the right-of-way. They will either discharge that into a stormwater easement that will be platted, or it will be put into a storm drain, into a pipe, into a stormwater easement that will be collected back into the stormwater system. That's something that we have not done in the past, but we have not seen, in my opinion, the amount of smaller lots, bigger homes, and then people putting in accessory structures and pools. There's a lot more runoff than we've seen in the past. Normally the lots were bigger. They could handle their own stormwater issues, but as the lots have gotten smaller and they're more clustered, we're seeing more runoff from one property owner to the next. And property owners are coming to us saying, it's not my water. My neighbor's water is coming over and flooding my swimming pool or flooding my yard or whatever the issue is. So we are doing what we can to mitigate the facilities that are already in place, but we sure don't want to be creating any more of these for the future. So we're working right now on our long-range plan. Is one means that we're doing is to make sure we have teeth in that, to make sure that we can do that. Second, working with Public Works to do a Public Works manual to show how these things should be done. There should be a go-by. And third, making sure we're doing a good quality review on each one of the set of plans and having basically stormwater's getting deferred to me. So having an engineer look through the other engineer's stormwater plans. So I want to give you a quick update on that. And we've got several things that we're looking, the projects that we are currently trying to get completed. We're doing everything. You know that we've had an issue with staffing from our sewer crew. They're the ones that would typically break or install a pipe on grade, those type of projects. We're still not 100% staffed, but we're at 5 out of 8 people on that crew. So we're doing some projects now just to get started on a new one here in the next week and a half. But we're also looking at working with contractors in the area to see if there's anything that we can do that we can outsource some of these projects under the Public Works bid law that would make sense for us to get done. We're trying to take care of the problems that the citizens are seeing in the most economical and efficient way that we can. So I just want to give you a quick update of that. Like I said, I brought the list. I got on my board, and I don't think it'd be productive to go through it, but there's 13 of them, and they're all across the board of all kinds of projects. So stormwater is a hot topic. We've had a wet summer, and that has not helped.
Right. All right. Any questions on that? All right. Move right on into speeding and traffic issues, which is still you, Barry, and Chief Moore.
Did you have something you want to start with?
I really don't. I mean, I can just
Sure.
talk about how many citations I've written in 20 since. So far in 2022, we've written close to 3,000 citations. That's just up until this time right now. Of those 3,000, about 1,200 of them to 1,300 of them are speeding tickets. So we're still constantly issuing citations. We know that speeding is an issue. The problem with speeding is I'll put an officer, I'll put 3 officers. We have grants that we can work. We put them in an area we've got lots of complaints on. They work that for 2 weeks, constantly working anytime that they are working on the grant or anything else. They'll leave for a week, and we get calls right back. Once we leave the area, we just cycle around the whole city. So it's a never-ending thing. Always will be a never-ending thing. We do write citations. We write a lot of them. I think we have about 800 streets in the city. That's a lot for 58-man department. So that's like I said. The takeaway is we are constantly writing. We've stayed about 6,000 citations a year for the last 3 years. So, and majority of that, I would say at least 25 to 30% is speeding citations. So,
are we writing any citations for the noise ordinance?
yes, we are. We're writing noise ordinance as well. But the large group is the speeding, but there are been lots of loud noise ordinance.
So our Q3 goal was to have y'all report back on what other cities are doing and recommendations for action and anything the comprehensive plan may need to take into consideration. So what are y'all's thoughts on that?
So one of the things I don't remember who asked me, but would we be willing to do a quick study of the different traffic calming devices that are available? I've done that. I've reached out to a lot of different cities, and what I've found is the more populated cities, the bigger cities have had to tackle this problem more than the smaller cities. So reaching out to my contacts in Dothan and some of the other communities around about what do y'all do? The common answer that I've gotten is there's not a one magic bullet that fixes this problem. You can put a speed hump, speed bump, speed table, whatever you want to call it, something in the roadway that would cause a car to slow down to go over it. That works at that one particular spot. They're going to slow down to go over the bump, but they're going to decelerate, go over the bump, and more than likely speed to the next one. And then when we get the next one, they'll slow back down to go over the next one. Also, they are telling me that when you put speed calming, traffic calming devices is the official word, and on a roadway, if you don't have them on the adjacent roadways, people will find a way around. They will go down, and what you'll do is divert traffic to other streets that have never seen traffic before, and you start chasing the traffic problems that are there. I had a discussion earlier today, and I said the issue is if people speed and there's no consequence for speeding, they're going to continue to speed. At least the speeders will. You can write citations. We could put something in the street to slow them down. It's up to you. I printed out just what Dothan does. They've just updated their ordinance for speed humps. I thought I'd tell you kind of what they do. And if you want to do something like this, we can definitely write this into the plan or do a separate ordinance. But they basically say that for it to be required, there's 4 things that have to be met. The daily vehicle traffic has to be at least 200, but no greater than 1,500. So they want the road to be traveled, but they don't want to be a major thoroughfare. They don't want to put speed humps on Main Street. The 85% speed has to be 8 miles an hour or greater than the existing posted speed limit. So what that means is 85% of the cars that go down that road are doing at least 8 miles an hour faster than the posted speed limit.
So they would have to do a traffic study of some
We'd
sort.
have to do some kind of a speed collecting device that would find out how fast the cars. The person requesting the petition must own or rent property adjacent to the studied street. So they have to. The person doing the petition has to live there or rent from there.
So it's initiated by a resident.
It's initiated by a resident. It puts the onus on the resident to start this process. And the speed limit on the requested street is posted no higher than 30 miles an hour. So we've already done everything we can to reduce the speed limit down to 30 miles an hour or less. So if you meet all 4 of those things, it says the city will issue that citizen a petition that they must circulate in the area, and 75% of the other residents must agree to the traffic calming to support the neighborhood. And that includes corner lots. So it's on the onus of the person doing the petition. If you meet those 4 categories, give them a petition, they go door to door, and people have to put their names down, 75% of the neighborhood, that they want a traffic calming device. It says once the petition is completed, a copy will be sent to the engineering staff, and they'll conduct a study to determine the most effective location for the speed humps. So go back to the engineering department. The engineering department will say, this is what we're going to install, and this is where we're going to put them. This is what Dothan does. I'm not saying that's the right answer.
Does it go before their commission?
Yes, if they meet the procedure, they go to the city engineering office. The engineering office handles everything, and then they have someone come and install the speed humps, whether that's their public works.
What if they meet all that and they bring it to the or take it to the engineering office, and maybe it's one of these parallel streets where as a professional that all we're going to do is divert traffic around. It's just in a good place. Do they have a means to veto it?
So he said that's kind of the issue that they've run into, and that's the reason they had a really stringent process before, and they wrote it down to 1 page. They reduced it by like a third of what it was. And he said it had too many requirements, you got to check all the boxes. They wanted to have more leverage in the engineering department. We did not discuss what happens if they said still not required. But the way this thing reads says the staff will review and verify the petition, and if approved, the city will conduct an engineering analysis to decide the location. So it doesn't say that they will determine whether or not they go in. If they meet the requirements, they just validate the numbers, and then the engineering department puts them where they should be.
So it still leaves some discretion on staff to say this just isn't a good idea based on our professional analysis.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah.
I did not ask that question.
Of course, if we
directly.
crafted it, we could give y'all whatever.
And I'm not saying that's the one we should use, but I did want to bring it today to say, well, there's several different kinds. Yeah, we could do a hump. I talked to Council Lady Rich about speed tables. They're more of a flat area. It takes more asphalt or concrete to build those, but you've probably seen them in some shopping areas. The beach uses them a lot. They typically use them over a pedestrian crossing, something we're actually entertaining at the new rec center, where we have crosswalks, pedestrian crossings going up to where the pool area is. We have a major street coming through, is to raise that crosswalk up so it would act as a calming device in that one particular parking lot. But it's not on a street. It's really in the parking lot of the rec center. So there is a place for calming devices. The other thing that we talked about, and Chief, I think you've got a couple of them, posted signs that show your speed is, and it records a lot of data. So that's what I found out. I just want to let you know there's not a magic bullet. Just to recap, there's a lot of things that are tools, but right now, currently, I have no process in place. If Councilman Goolsby said I want a speed hump on ABC Street, I've got nothing other than okay, I'll go do it. But I would recommend that we have a price. If we're going to go forward with this, we have a process for doing that, and it has to meet some kind of criteria, so that we treat every situation the same with some kind of analytical decision.
And of course, we would have to. These things cost money, so the council would probably determine how many we're going to fund a year, right?
That's right. We'd have to budget for the installation of these as well.
What's your thoughts on the lights? Okay, we'll go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to talk about the cons of the if they're put in.
Yeah.
And Barry and I talked about it. If they are put in and somebody says, I don't like it, I don't want it there, it doesn't work, it costs quite a bit to have it removed. So that's something to think about. The things that we've also talked about with Chief Davis is the issue with the speed bumps, speed humps, speed platforms, or anything else. If you're preventing other people from going fast, you're also preventing first responders from going fast. So it's not as detrimental to my police cars, but you're talking fire trucks, tons of weight, and ambulances that have to ease over every single one of those speed humps. That obviously can take some time, something to think about. Garbage trucks, everything. Moving trucks, if their area, whatever. The other thing that I think about also is it only slows people down, like you said before, for that speed hump. And if you'll go to the high school about 7:30 to 8:15 in the morning, you'll realize what I'm talking about. It slows them down from one speed hump to the next. In between that is, Indy 500, see how fast we can get, which increases your speed, increases your wear and tear on the road, and also increases your noise pollution. Again, I'm agreeing with Barry that there's not just one. I think there's a place for them. I don't know if they're in every single neighborhood that requests them. So that's just something we have to entertain.
Yeah. All right. Well, we obviously don't have time to solve this tonight, but that's good information. Appreciate that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kick this to a future issue down the road. Obviously, we can continue to discuss it in the context of our comprehensive plan also.
Just one thing I'd add is I will bring this up. We do have on our long-range plan, we have a transportation engineering firm on that, and I will kick this to our next meeting and ask their input as well, and see if they have anything that we ought to include in their opinion in the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
Chief Moore, is it possible, or could I get the data for those 1,200 to 1,300 speeding citations? Like what areas you get those that you're giving those citations in?
The program I pulled it from is the state. I'll have to go back through it and figure out if it's able to do a location. I figured out in about an hour of doing graphs for the last 3 years, I'd be more than happy to send y'all. I sent it to Jonathan earlier, but just giving you an idea of the last 3 years of citations that we've written,
or just
areas, the times, and stuff like that.
Just specifically these 3,000 that you're giving in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm asking that specifically because I want to see how that relates to the areas that I get calls on the most.
Yes, ma'am. Let me look to see how that is. I can pull how many what we call 104Rs, which is radar enforcement specifically for that. I can pull that and see how many times we've been over there running radar. And it gives you a little bit better picture of, yes, we were over there. Sometimes we write citations, sometimes we don't. But how much time we spend on that also. But I'll be more than happy to share that with you.
All right, moving on to some business license fees. One of our goals this quarter was to take our new business license orders from last year. I don't think anybody's shocked that there were a few things discovered through the implementation of it that maybe we had some blind spots on. So I think we've got some recommendations from staff on some fixes that we might need to consider moving forward.
And also a couple of things where it's like interpretation. I realized that with my lens of view, how I read and how I interpret something is not necessarily how somebody who's, not an accountant or not, dealing with revenue every day, how they might interpret, the idea that was behind the implementation on there. So you should have, I'm sorry we didn't have it in your packets earlier, but Jonathan should have just handed you, there's probably a dozen or so items that are listed here, and these have come to us through a variety of arenas. Either they have come from people have contacted council members, and you guys have let us know that this is an issue that you're concerned about or your constituents are concerned about. Others are some that have come directly to the revenue office and spoken to us about their concerns. And on the very first column there is the particular schedule or person or category of licensure that we feel like needs to be updated. The second column there shows what the current business license ordinance reads. That is the most current one that we passed last year. And then the next is our proposed changes to that we feel like best address the issues that people have brought to us and feel like it will help clarify and make things easier, not only on us, but also on our business owners, so that we can make sure that we're being as business friendly as we can, and making sure that everybody's clear on there. And then the final one is just our notes, because some of these things, like if you look on the second page, there is some information there about laws that have been enacted by the House at the state level for retail pharmacies. And then on the last page, there is some information there on the cottage law, because that has changed and removed some limitations there on what we're allowed to use for calculations. So some of it is laws, dictated down from the state too. We're trying to make sure that our ordinance is in line and is appropriate for everything that we have to be accountable to. So.
All right. So obviously, y'all have done the hard work of bringing a proposal. This is not coming to us in the form of an ordinance at this point.
Right. And I guess my thought was that I wanted you all to be able to look at it and see what our, staff and what our proposals were. Mm-hmm. Always it's up to council to determine if you would like for us to move forward with that. I thought, since you just mentioned that we would go ahead and extend the work session on October 4th, this would maybe give you all some time to look this over. And if you've got questions of me or of staff, you can always reach out to us. And then if we wanted to discuss it further on October 4th, that would still give us time, because, of course, our business licenses are on a calendar year instead of on a fiscal year. So that would still be plenty of time for us to go back, make some updates, and get something, typed up in an ordinance for council to approve prior to January 1st.
So, Rainer, would you think we would adopt an entirely new business license ordinance, or will we just adopt an amendment?
I think we would do an amendment.
Okay. All right. So, practically speaking, let's take this home, study it. Of course, get with Leanne if you have any big concerns. If just some minor questions, we'll discuss on October 4th. We could have an ordinance introduced the second meeting in October to pass the first meeting in November, and that keeps you on schedule.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because of course we have to advertise and do all that.
So, is there any specific advertising that we have to do out that we normally don't do? Can we go that? Does that schedule work? Yeah, we pass it the first week in November. That's not going to give them any problems having it implemented in January.
Yeah, that should be enough time.
Okay. Everybody comfortable with that schedule? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Montgomery, Mr. Powell, you're going to discuss our downtown comprehensive plan. And you do have the 15 minutes that you originally had. So we're doing good on time.
Great. Yeah, just briefly updating you on the master planning. You've been provided with the list, like Jonathan said, in the photograph to accompany it. Basically, a couple months ago, I got the board and committee members together and asked them, what do you want to see downtown long term? They gave me all of their ideas. And since then, we've been working on really solidifying our list, what's realistic, finding our estimated costs, coming up with ideas for the actual funding for these ideas, and then working on a prioritization to figure out what years we might want to start implementing these goals. So the document you have is just a working document. Nothing is set in stone, obviously, but this is what we've been working on, and we do want input from the council to see what your goals are, what we can align on and work together on. So that's what we're working with currently. That's our update.
So, do we have a total for, like, this is obviously a I guess, could we call this a wish list, a comprehensive wish list, or the things that aren't on here?
So there were things that were not on this list that were stated in those meetings, but they fell in priority enough that we dropped it off the list.
Gotcha.
So this is really everything that we would deem achievable.
So do you have a total for what we're looking at?
If you'll look on the estimated costs, some of them are NA for right now or TBD. So we're still working on getting some of those numbers because, for example, the green space line item, it's a little vague right now. We don't have the property to implement that. So it's doing further research to find out, if we are looking to acquire property, if we're looking to work out some type of deal, things like that. So currently we don't have a cost on that one, but you can see all the estimated costs per line item on that column.
Okay. Because I mean, obviously that's going to be where the rubber meets the road with us is
right.
How much money you need. Because I mean, just looking down these, all this stuff looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. Some of those NAs look great, and some you got 100K. So
right. Yes, and like I said, grants are kind of the first step for us. We're trying to apply for grants, but currently, I'll just make a note that you'll see the curbed bump outs with trees is that number one priority. That is priority vote from our downtown group. So
which one is?
That is the curbed bump outs with trees, with the goal of slowing down traffic naturally on Main Street, and also just increasing the beautification downtown. So that's one that you might hear a little bit more about moving forward. But these are all the ones that we're pursuing, and I included notes on what we've done so far or any further clarifications on there too.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or want to discuss anything? We do have a few minutes if we want to drill in a little bit here. Anything?
Kind of surprised that the wayfinding signage plan wasn't a higher priority.
Yes, and that was just how the priority votes came out. We did anonymous voting first, and then we ended up doing, public voting, and that was how it ended up falling. And that was the pricing to have a company come out and actually, assess the downtown and make those recommendations for signage placement.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, I guess everybody just needs to review this, and I think we just need an actionable plan and budget, and I guess encourage you to work with the mayor and staff to bring us something actionable where we can get to work on this. Because I think a lot of this, I don't think you're gonna get any disagreement that these aren't things that we would love to have.
And we are currently working on obtaining some drone footage to get some renderings in front of you guys too.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We got a few minutes. Yeah.
I was just going to mention that some of the items in here in their master plan, this was kind of done while we were in the budget process. So some of these items are budgeted.
Such as?
We had an overall budget for sidewalks, and some of the downtown sidewalks were in mind when we did that. So in terms of increasing walkability downtown, we also had the increased parking. That was something that came up about the Methodist Church parking lot. That's also across from the library. That gets used routinely in a similar fashion with what we did with First Baptist Church in their parking area. So
that's currently in the budget, right?
In the budget. And then paving alleyways is also currently in the budget. I don't know, I may be missing one or two things there. We're looking at the bump outs, about what that takes. I know Mariah's done a really good job of finding out what kind of trees, if we should work with Billy on that. We don't want the roots to penetrate and disrupt, water, sidewalks, sewer lines, those kind of things. So picking the right, trees are going to be important with that. But we do have a curb machine that the city owns, and we may be able to do some of those in-house. We did, Barry Mott worked with AlDOT to get the striping done on the lines there. So you'll see a lot of those. Maybe we took a couple of parking spots out. I don't know if you remember us having those conversations. So on the corners there at a lot of those areas, the parking lots or the parking areas have been removed maybe by one spot on each corner. So the bump outs are there and kind of
so we can kind of visualize where those bump outs would be.
That's right. Roughly, it may change the.
Does that mean that AlDOT would be okay with a bump out there?
It does not. We would still need approval from AlDOT, particularly if we're talking about line of sight and safety, which again goes back to which trees we pick, how high they go, where the foliage is on them, that kind of stuff.
But they're not just opposed to any kind of beautification like that.
They're not. They just weren't going to pay for it, and under this resurfacing.
So
project.
last week, those striped areas were being used as high-speed turning lanes. Just FYI.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits for doing a bump out.
Yeah, it's a physical barrier.
Right. So again, it just matters what's in the bump out. I think they have no problem with us doing a bump out, so curbing that and filling. But once we start putting things that could obstruct line of sight, we do need to make sure that we work closely with AlDOT.
So what about the rendering? And I remember the initial renderings from Main Street. The Main Street program had these bike lanes in there. I mean, how does AlDOT look at stuff like that?
I won't speak for AlDOT. That will be more problematic for us for a couple of reasons. But one is the parking areas as well. So we have a certain amount of footage there. Some of those are parking areas closest to the sidewalks. Then we have 2 lanes and a turn lane in the middle. So which space do you want to give up? And will the business community support that? I'm not sure that, and I haven't extensively reviewed this. Mariah can correct me. Were bike lanes in the master plan in terms of something you were looking at, Mariah?
Currently, they fell down in priority. They were brought up, but they fell down in priority after discussing the potential dangers of having the bike lanes located right behind those parking spots, just because we don't want any accidents happening with people reversing. So in a larger list, yes, it exists. There's interest in it, but it isn't currently on this list.
I just saw it on the rendering. This one. Okay, gotcha. All right, well, that's a good start. Good work on that. Any other questions before we take a brief recess? All right, we'll adjourn the work session for 5 minutes. We'll return and reconvene in our regular meeting.
Not as of, not that I've heard
Mr.
today.
Bench?
I haven't talked to
How are you?
I'm fine,
anybody
Mr.
today, so
Mr. Turner. How are you,
he
sir?
told me last night.
Good. Mr. Dozier, how are you doing? Good.
Yeah. I said, your vote is the name of the council. It's a
chair that Carol had.
Turn it.
Thank you very much. I'll let you know. Look, I got to know.
Calls about fees or
What?
any calls about any sewer fees or.
No, I haven't complained at all.
Of course, I realize
Community is involved in that type of. Like that $5 permit.
and it's not like we're hearing something ridiculous.
No,
The low end rate.
you go to other towns, it's higher than that.
Well, we just don't know how
Mayor.
the city, not even in the city. And they have impact. Permits and everything. You okay?
I'm dealing with blood sugar issues the last couple.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting of the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all members of the City Council are present. If you will, please rise, and we will have the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance with Pastor Joey Turman here. I don't guess so, so I will open us in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this evening. Thank you for everyone here and their safe travels as we gather to discuss the business of the city. Thank you for this great place to live and to raise a family and to conduct business in. Please be in our thoughts tonight as we make decisions as well as we know how. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. All right, Council, you should have a copy of the agenda as discussed in the work session prior. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the City Council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of a member of the City Council. I will now call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
All right, with a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll now recognize Mayor Cooper for the presentation of a plaque to Marvin Pickney in recognition of his life-saving heroic actions on September 4th during a residential home fire. Mayor?
Mr. President, we have been involved in Hickman, and this award said earlier this month, this victim was in his garage and noticed that flames was coming from his neighbor's home. He called 911, successfully entered the home to rescue the resident with a caregiver. Unable to enter out of the back of the front door, thinking located a bedroom window, and with the help of passersby, he was able to safely remove them from the home. By the time Mr. Hickman was able to exit himself, he could already feel the extreme heat from the fire. If it had not been for this swift action, those two occupants would have not survived, and one was immobile. Mr. Baker, I know you do not want to be recognized as a hero, but truly you are. The City Council, our Chief Davis, and I commend you for your unwavering regard to your own safety and for jumping into action without hesitation. What you did definitely changed the outcome of the situation that could have been tragic. So tonight we are going to present you with a plaque
from the city, and it reads Tourism Award, presented to Marvin Hickman by the Office of the Mayor of the City of Enterprise, and also the Enterprise City Council for extreme bravery and selfless action when in the face of danger. Dated this 20th day, September 2022, Christopher Davis, Fire Chief, William E. Cooper, Mayor. Thank you, sir.
This is for Miss Mary.
I'll crack it. I hope it's not.
Okay, there we go.
Wait. We need Dion.
All right. We have one other item that usually this is given to people for very outstanding contributions to our city. This is what we call the key to the city. Now, this won't unlock any doors, but it will unlock the hearts of the 30,000 or more people that reside here. And with this honor, we bestow this upon you and hope that you keep it and cherish it. It comes from Mayor William E. Cooper Sr. It has on there the Enterprise Whole Weaver monument and, of course, the Great Seal of the great city of Enterprise, Alabama. So we present you this key to our city. Chief Davis.
Basically, all right, so we've all heard me talk about community risk reduction. I would just like to take a moment and say that I do not recommend anybody going inside of a burning structure. So I can't throw the award out for that. What I can say is that we had a neighbor, a civil servant, somebody who cares about the people around him, and obviously his neighbors. It's not like he hadn't met them before. Take action when action was needed. And although, again, real quick, let's not go running into our building. That's the sign of a good man. And I've mentioned many times that is what should be applauded more than anything else. So if you'll join me one more time. I'll just say one thing. So Miss Mary Griffin, the mobile husband that I rescued from the house, she told me when I went to visit her in the hospital that I am now fully responsible. My wife and I are going to leave this meeting now, go get her unsalted peanuts, her oatmeal cookies, and some tea. Thank you for this honor.
Mr. Penny, congratulations, and thank you. Thank you. Well deserved. All right, we're going to stick with the mayor here. He's got a presentation for an Extra Mile Award to Public Works employee Michael Green.
Mr. President, members of the audience, today we are going to award the Extra Mile Award to Michael Green. Today we are recognizing Michael Green for going above and beyond his duties for the city of Enterprise. For approximately 3.5 months, Michael stepped up and took over cleaning the administrative building to include all the offices and restrooms while performing his duties for housekeeping even at the public works facility. This was an extraordinary feat as those buildings are considerable in size. This level of commitment is astounding. Michael, the city council, and I commend you on your outstanding ability and remarkable attention that you give to your commitment and your job duties when called to step up. We are proud to have such outstanding individuals represent our public works department. And of course, I noticed there that I've never seen Barry Mark smile like he smiled. But anyway, this award is the Extra Mile Award presented to Michael Green by the Office of the Mayor of the City of Belfast, the City Council, for going above beyond while performing your job duties. Dated this 20th day of September, in the year of our Lord, 2022. Barry Mott, Public Works Director, William E. Cooper, Mayor. Michael, thank you for your service. All right, Barry. I just want to say, working with Public Works and engineering, I get to work with the whole city. And it's phenomenal, the employees that we have working here to serve the citizens of the city. And, out of all those people, Michael sets the example of what, when someone says, hey, do you mind, we need you, he said, absolutely. Anything that we need to do, I'll do it. Just tell me what we need to do. With everything we've gone through since COVID hit, you can imagine from sanitizing every public area of City Hall to a Public Works building. Every time I call someone, hey, we need to step this up, we need to do this, and you got an idea. Michael's never said no or leave me a check. He's like, I'll be there, just tell me what you need. And that just, I can't thank you enough for the attitude that you have and the example that you set for all the other people that work here as servants for the city. And I just want to say thank you, man.
Thank you, Mayor and Barry, and congratulations, Mr. Green. All right, we're now going to call upon Municipal Judge Paul Sherling to administer the oath of office to our new city prosecutor, Ashley Marshall.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Ashley Marshall, do solemnly swear that I'll support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Alabama, so long as I continue as a citizen thereof, that I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
Y'all want to take a picture? Thank you, Judge Sherlin, and congratulations, Ms. Marshall. All right, we now have a request to address the council regarding a street closure. Ms. Deanna Pierce from Lunation Downtown Ghost Tour.
So we're just looking for a street closure on the corner so we can bring in some food trucks and line up our guests that'll be arriving. We're expecting around 300 that evening. Okay. Last year we got to have a little bit of it was getting to be tight quarters. So we're looking to try to expand that space so they have a safe place to line up near the street, near the event space that they're going to be accessing.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Pierce? Now we've got a application in our packet. We talked to Chief Moore during the work session. He's got his blessing. So any other comments or questions? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve this request.
So moved. I'm sorry. Go ahead, son.
I was gonna say, I move that we approve the request.
And I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Pierce. All right, now is the time of the meeting for privilege of the floor. This allows anyone from the public that's present here tonight to address the council for 3 minutes. I will draw to your attention that we have 3 public hearings, the first 3 items in old business regarding garbage and sanitation fees, sanitary sewer fees, and engineering public works fees. We will have public hearings regarding those issues, so if you're here to address us on those, please hold those comments for those public hearings. Anything else is when that this would be the appropriate time to address us. So is there anybody here? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward. Any staff reports? Anybody that was from staff that was unable to address us during the work session? All right. We will move on to old business. We'll now review and consider Ordinance 090622A, which is the implementation of additional garbage and sanitation fees. I call for a public hearing prior to consideration of Ordinance 090622A, providing effective October 1st, 2022, garbage fees for all residential and business customers shall increase to $23.46 per month, and beginning October 1st, 2023, and each year thereafter, said garbage fees shall increase by the amount equal to the percentage increase of the Consumer Price Index for all urban customers, which is CPI-U, over the then last 12-month period before seasonal adjustment as published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics as of August 1st in each year. Unless there is an increase in the CPI-U, there shall be no adjustment to the garbage fee then in existence for a given year unless council implements any change by ordinance or other appropriate act. So this public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the council regarding this ordinance? All right, seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing and entertain a motion to adopt Ordinance 090622A.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt Ordinance 090622A. Is there any further discussion?
No, Mr. President.
Yes.
I know we've discussed this, not particularly this past, work session today, but in previous work sessions, as we have talked about this several times, there is a $1.96 increase, and that may not appear as much to some, but Mr. Mott has discussed in work sessions prior that we will always consider those seniors or those that are having hardships have an opportunity to request assistance. Is that correct, Mr. Mott, in these areas, if just like that's always been? Okay. I just wanted to note that.
Thank you, Sonia.
Had discussed that.
Is there any further discussion, comments? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider Ordinance 090622B, which is the implementation of additional sanitary sewer fees. We're going to have a public hearing for this one also. I call for a public hearing prior to consideration of Ordinance 090622B, providing effective October 1st, 2022, sanitary sewer rate fees for all residential and business customers shall increase by a flat fee of $2.50 per month for all accounts, plus a 15% increase in each category of water usage over 2,000 gallons per month billing period. Thereafter, beginning October 1st, 2023, and each year thereafter, said sewer fee shall automatically increase by the amount equal to the percentage increase of the Consumer Price Index for all urban customers, CPI-U, over the then last 12-month period before seasonal adjustment, as published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics as of August 1st in each year. Unless there is an increase in the CPI-U, there shall be no adjustment to the sewer fee then in existence for a given year, unless council implements any change by ordinance or other appropriate act. All right, this public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the council regarding this ordinance? All right, seeing no one, I will now close the hearing and entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 090622B.
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or comments? I'll add one point of clarification here. A couple of conversations, phone calls I got. Some confusion that this has something to do with water. Now, it is related to water, and it even indicates that it's tied to water usage for over 2,000 gallons per month. This is the sewer. The council is not over the water rates. That's handled by the Enterprise Water Authority. This is the sewer, so the sanitary sewer that carries the water to the wastewater treatment plants. So that's what this fee is for. Just wanted to clarify that. Any other comments or questions? All right. I'll now call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider ordinance 090622C, which is the implementation of additional engineering and public works fees. And I'll call for a public hearing prior to consideration of ordinance 090622C related to an adjustment of sewer tap, building permit, and building inspection fees specifically as follows. Sewer tap fees shall be adjusted to $350 for each residential sewer tap as of January 1st, 2023. Thereafter, the said residential sewer tap fee shall be $600 as of October 1st, 2023, and such residential sewer tap fee shall be $850 plus cost of materials as of October 1st, 2024, and thereafter until altered by council action. The sewer tap fee shall be adjusted to $450 for each commercial sewer tap as of January 1, 2023. Thereafter, the said commercial sewer tap fee shall be $650 as of October 1, 2023, and such commercial sewer tap fee shall be $850 plus cost of materials as of October 1, 2024, and thereafter until, if, and when altered by council action. And as to building permit fees effective January 1, 2023, there shall be a minimum fee of $50 as to any total building project $5,000 or less. Building projects with an estimated total cost of over $5,000 shall require a fee of $50 plus an additional $3 per $1,000 in total construction costs. Specifically for commercial building projects, there shall be added to the permit fees as set out above a charge of $1 per $1,000 in total construction costs for the state of Alabama craft fee. And as to building inspection fees, said fees shall be included in the cost of building permits as set out above, except each required reinspection shall require an additional fee as follows: $50 for the first reinspection, and for each inspection after the first reinspection, the permittee shall pay twice the previous amount paid. As an example, for the second reinspection, an additional cost of $100 shall be due. For the third reinspection, an additional cost of $200 shall be due, and so on, depending on the number of reinspections. We now have a public hearing open. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this ordinance? All right, seeing no one, we'll close this public hearing and entertain a motion of ordinance 090622C.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for ordinance 090622C. Is there any further discussion or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider ordinance 090622E, which is to ratify and confirm the appointment of building official. A call for consideration of ordinance 090622E, ratifying and confirming that the city engineer and director of public works is the building official of the city, and the alternate building official is the assistant director of engineering services. I'll now entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider Ordinance 090622F, which is to reestablish Reserve Law Enforcement Officer Program. A call for consideration of Ordinance 090622F, providing for the reestablishment of a law enforcement reserve officer program within the Enterprise Police Department. I'll entertain a request to adopt this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All right, with a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider Ordinance 090622G regarding city school funding. A call for consideration of Ordinance 090622G providing for school funding. The ordinance repeals Section 11, Paragraph D of Ordinance 070114 related to a formularized percentage funding basis from which the city has been allocating and paying certain adjusted net sales tax receipts to the City Board of Education, and all prior portions of any ordinances which call for the same action as said section, and to implement a funding procedure in lieu of said formularized percentage basis, which will grant the City Board of Education a $5,900,000 allocation from said sales tax receipts collected for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Said funding shall take place by payments over 12 months. The allocation for fiscal year 2022-2023 takes into account that the city does not seek a refund of the portion of the State of Alabama Simplified Seller's Use Tax, which has been inadvertently paid to said board. The ordinance provides that future grants of funding from the adjusted net sales tax receipts to the board by the city will be considered each budget year of the city. I'll entertain a motion to adopt Ordinance 090622G.
So moved.
Second.
All right, with a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to new business. We'll introduce Ordinance 092022 regarding Unsafe Building Board of Adjustment and Appeals. I'll introduce Ordinance 092022 providing to establish the Unsafe Building Board of Adjustment and Appeals and appoint its board members. And I'll read aloud those board members. All right, for seat 1 for a 1-year term is Ron Reeves. For seat 2, also a 1-year term, Dallas Boyd. Seat 3, a 2-year term, Sidney Kucher. Seat 4, a 2-year term, Clay Wilkes. And seat 5, a 3-year term, Brad Johnson. So we're going to just introduce this ordinance tonight, lay it over, and consider it in our first meeting in October. We'll now review and consider Resolution 09-2022, which is the FY 2023 operating budget. I introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 09-2022, providing for the adoption of the fiscal year 2023 operating budget as follows. I'm not going to read this entire thing, but everybody should have a detailed copy, and the public should have available of our budget resolution, which has total expenditures of $98,264,279, and I will entertain a request to adopt Resolution 09-2022.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
Jonathan, can he come up and just explain what he explained in the work session again about those expenditures, just for the sake of those that are just tuning in for the
in regards to the growth of yes.
Exactly.
Mayor and council members, public, what I had discussed in our work session was that the numbers there look unusually high, and they are for the city's budget.
Yeah, for reference, last year was $53,257,000. It's $257,000. This is $98,264,000.
Correct. So some $46 million of that budget is capital expenses. Of that, there were allocated sources or funds, as Leanne calls them in the accounting terms, that were set aside for monies that we did a bond issue or relief funds that we got from the federal government. So those funds are sitting in an account, and they're not part of revenues that we expect to come in So we're not deficit spending. We're not, pie in the sky. We actually have those funds, and we intended to, or the council intended to, spend them on some capital projects. That's why you took the bonds out. So now we have estimated that this year we will spend a portion of those on those capital projects.
To include things like city hall renovations, recreation center, paving projects,
Paving project,
sewer
commitment
projects.
to the veterans home, those sort of things. So,
Yeah.
yep,
Things
absolutely.
that we've been discussing. All right. Does that get you, Sonia?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? All right. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now address the temporary closure of portions of roads on Hickman Road and Dozier Road. If you're following along on the agenda, I'm actually going to read a slightly different version. So the city engineer and consulting engineer have made a request for temporary closure of portions of Hickman Road and Dozier Road as shown in the attached map until such time as the city and or consulting engineer inform the police chief that the portions of those roads which are closed may again be opened. This is in association with the VA home construction project and for safety concerns of the public. As expected, this temporary closure will last approximately 90 days or longer. Do I hear a motion to grant this request?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll now address a request to hold the Young Eagle Flight Rally at the Enterprise Municipal Airport. Introduce and call for consideration of a request on behalf of EAA Chapter 351 to hold a Young Eagle Flight Rally at the Enterprise Municipal Airport on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022, with a rain date of October 29th. The rally will feature free airplane rides for children ages 8 to 17. I'll entertain a motion to grant this request.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor, do you have a report for us?
On Saturday evening, September 24th, started at 4 o'clock, downtown Enterprise, we're going to have our ladies' night out. And of course, everything has been set up and planned, so we want to make sure that our citizens support these events that are going on downtown. And again, on Sunday morning, this past Sunday morning, 8 o'clock, even though Great Britain or United Kingdom was celebrating carrying out the funeral arrangements there of Queen Elizabeth, somewhere in their CBS taking time out of their schedule to honor a city that in the center of town was a four-wheeler monument honoring a pest. They mentioned there about the cotton crop and how it was destroyed by the four-wheeler, and also mentioned there about Tuskegee University and the famous scientist, Dr. George Washington Carver, who presented to the farmers something different than what they had lost with the cotton crop. And of course, they interviewed yours truly, and as well as Dale Marsh and some others there. And I feel like that this being one of the greatest hallmarks as far as our city is concerned, because it was seen all over the United States. I received calls from New York, Ohio, and other places that are complimenting us on what is going on here at Enterprise. And I was told this evening that some people from out of town, downtown, taking pictures at the Old Wheeler Soap Company, Old Wheeler Nut Company, and something they had seen on TV. So again, we are thankful for what went on, and we thank those that put this program together. And I feel like now that everybody across the 49 states know about Enterprise and the Old Wheeler. Thank you.
Ms. Rich?
I didn't get a chance to see it. I was traveling, but I had several friends of mine that I attended Tuskegee with call and say, you really do live from somewhere that's a real city, because they had never, some of them had never heard of Enterprise, so I took great delight in that. So it's good to see everyone out tonight, and certainly so appreciative of our hard workers and our citizens that were honored tonight. And thank you to our staff, Leanne and Jonathan, and all of our department heads for your hard work with our budget. We appreciate everything that you've done this year. Thank you very much.
Mr. Goolsby.
Well, it was certainly a positive thing tonight to have Mr. Pickney recognized and Michael Green from the Public Works Department. We thank all of our department heads and our workers, but it was really nice tonight to see these two people recognized. Thank everybody for being here.
Mr. Paget.
Chime in saying congratulations to those that received those honors tonight. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the city workers that work so hard to make all of this happen. And we sit up here and give out all kind of directives and go home.
Mr. Johnson.
Right. Thank you to everyone online watching. Thank you, all of us in the gallery here today. And congratulations. And I know him as Sergeant Major Pickney for many, many years. And he's truly a gentleman and a hero in my books, too. And Mr. Green, he's just the tip of the iceberg of all those outstanding workers that we have within this city in every department. And I was telling my sister who called me about seeing out Enterprise. I've been trying to get her out of Oregon. And she says, "Oh, you do have a boll weevil. I thought you were just joking." And I kept telling her, I said, "Well, you need to come because this is the place you want to live. Great workers, great city, and great community." And just God bless everybody. Thank you.
Yep. I couldn't say any better than Scotty just said it. Mr. Pickney and Mr. Green, congratulations on that. Mr. Cooper, good job on your interview. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was good. It's on YouTube, son. Yeah, I can give you a link.
Yeah,
so
I'm gonna check it out tonight. I've already heard he's
find
a
it
star.
on. But I thoroughly enjoyed that. And if you hadn't had enough of us, stick around. We've got an E911 board, and I assure you it will be just as entertaining as it sounds. So we are adjourned, and we will stick right here for a few minutes and reconvene in the E911 board meeting. We've got a few things.
Please.
Right. Did you forget? I had got my check from you. Did you forget?
No, I've got it in my car.
No, I should have
Got it in my car.
Okay. Thank
Go
you.
get it.
Go.
Sonya's not over here. You send it that away.
You haven't signed any of them? You still got some.
Okay.
You got a stack to sign.
I got a whole. If y'all are passing this back down,
Somebody need a water or anything?
You ain't careful. Some days I'm patient with it. So, thank y'all so much for y'all information.
Huh? I think they've already signed all those.
You know, I guess I would need to see if I never see that like any of the
Nothing.
cities. And I said, me, you know, no, I ain't gonna do this long as Mr. Cooper. But, you know, I think to me, for me, once having an inside view of it from this level, from here, like you would have a
Want to continue to see what's going on with you.
have a continued interest.
Yeah.
It's weird to me. I mean, you know.
When he was councilman, he didn't go to hardly anything.
Y'all ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna ask that if you need to talk, we'll pull those doors closed and we can go out in the hallway. But we need to move on with our E911 board meeting. So I will call this meeting of the E911 board meeting to order. Let the record show that all board members are present. Just for clarification, the city council is the members of the city council are automatically the E911 board. So that's why we're here. So we will. You should have been distributed a copy of the minutes from May 18th, 2021 and October 5th, 2021. So I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider Resolution 09-2022, which is the FY 2023 budget. I will introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 09-2022, providing to adopt fiscal year 2023 E911 operating budget in the amount of $388,928 with projected revenues of $427,928. I'll entertain a motion in a second, and then we'll move to discussion. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. So, Ms. Tangi, did you want to add anything?
Yes, sir. Just to let you know that I'm in the middle of my state audit, and we're almost done with that. And thank you so much for your time, all of you. But we should be complete with it by Friday.
All right. And the budget that we're about to vote on, consistent with our work session from several weeks ago?
Yes, it is.
Leanne, Chief Moore, no changes, everything we discussed.
The budget actually is integrated into the overall city budget.
Right. Great. Any other questions, comments? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Anything else? Anything else from the board members? All right, we are adjourned. Now we gotta sign this one.
Thank you. Listen.